on cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the rules. Don't hate but create. You are landing on cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the rules. Don't hate, but create. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the pose. Don't hate, but create.
Now, I have a theory. Mind you, it's just a theory that something could have happened right there at the point where the bodies was found. I won't give her name, but I will use her initials, KW. She had said, had my son have gotten home a little earlier, he would have caught them going down the hill because they have that private drive. Now, we know that he arrived a short time after that, a very small time right after they was abducted. What if his car was going down that path and one of the girls yelled to try to get the attention of the driver? That could have set the guy off. The guy could have hit one of them. The other could have screamed. The windows probably were up in the vehicle as it was February. And the guy may not have heard anything, because it was a distance from, the private drive over across the way, across the creek to where they were at. But if one of them had yelled to try to get the attention of the driver, that could have tipped things off immediately. He could have struck one of them, the other could have yelled, and it just became what it was, a double murder. Now, after killing two young girls, his motives be damned at that point, he had to get the hell out of there. And that's what I think may have happened. I don't know it to happen. I wasn't there. I am using the best guesswork that I have in the same way that investigators do. Because anybody says, well, where's your proof? You're just speculating. Do you know anybody that knows everything on this? Because if you do, guess what? You're looking at the fucking bridge guy, asshole. Law enforcement and trolls, man. Hop on. Get the fuck out of here. Anybody that knew that area and had covered it, and to the extent that the suspect did, he had been there quite a few times waiting. Quite a few times. Also makes sure about Mears and Ronald Logan, if anybody had asked permission from them to hunt on their property. I know that if you go back, it was about a year and a half prior to the murders. Ronald Logan had two ordeals with the police where he called them. One, somebody had broken his house. Two, he was at his house and he seen a man that was out in an outbuilding that he didn't know. He called the police, and I guess maybe after he ran out to confront the guy, and the man fled on foot before law enforcement could arrive. This is in the daytime. This is a person that was there in the day that was up to no good. Okay? 2 different times. Could have been the same guy. But there's reason for me to believe that it could be the same guy. This was a crime of convenience. The guy had went there, he knew the area, had it all in his head as to how it was going to play out once somebody showed up that fit his image of victim and there was no one else around. If they get down to that bridge in an area where you can go over and get them, you take them right over to that point, because that point couldn't be seen from the trail or the bridge. You couldn't be seen from any area there. He knew that, and he knew his way out.
always, for some reason, it always makes me remember in the transcript from Keegan talking to the officer when they asked him, do you think your father could have done this? And even including with Barbara McDonald, but he makes a statement where he states, well, my dad can drag deer out of the woods. And I just thought that was an interesting comment, that why would he state it that way, dragging deer out of the woods?
Ritual that a person can do. So first off, a tradition for hunting in Germany is that after you have killed the animal, as a sign of respect, you put some twigs or branches. I will put a photo in this video of it. And over top of the dead animal. And then after you've done this, then you open its mouth and it's like giving it its last meal type of thing. And you put some twigs of some, like of an oak tree or whatever kind of tree is near you, of that habitat, in its mouth. And then, now that's basically what we do here in Germany.
He was his dad's alibi, and his dad was his alibi. Oh yeah, we were together all day, and then we went to Grandma and Grandpa's house. Well, no, Keegan then says, we're parked at the cemetery. He parks at the cemetery. Tony gets out, which when I show that on the map so easily, to walk right down from that cemetery, down Ron Logan's property, to get right to the crime scene, which means they had to know where the crime scene was going to be. They had to already know that that's where they were going to go. And I bring up I have a show called The Missing Witness that talks about some other witnesses that we know were there earlier in the day, and saw somebody early in the morning, a vehicle, saw somebody out there early in the morning on that side of the bridge, who could have been casing out where they were going to go prior to the crime, which would make sense because we also know that the officers bring up to Keegan that him and his dad were up first thing at 8 o'clock that morning, already on their phones. Well, they pointed that out for a reason. There's a reason that they did that.
I loved your answer when you were talking about the hunter similarity. I loved what you said before. So maybe you can repeat it for the people that just enter here.
I also says it was something you'd want to take a picture of. Not sure on that statement. I'm not sure on that statement, other than it's a strong statement to me. It means something. It's strong. It says something big. So when we talk about TK and the pictures he would take of, if this is what Cryptex is kind of referring to, I know that early on when they were sort of brought up as suspects in this whole deal, find all of those things very suspect. The fact that he's proud to show off a big cut off head of a deer and say, look what I've done, look what I've killed. He hunted in that area. He knew it well. Everyone did. I can't believe that anyone in that area that grew up in Delphi area or in the surrounding community didn't know that area well. As somebody that has a lot of small towns like that around here, I call BS on that. I know where all the little swimming holes are at and all that, all the party spots where we used to go get stoned and everything. Come on.
So I think this is the day law enforcement went to talk to Keegan about the murders. So these are three officers here. And we have Keegan. We have Keegan in the sofa, and look at this decoration. Let's say,
I don't know.
Kind of creepy, yeah.
You don't say. Yeah, you just have antlers on the floor. I mean, what was it, like dinner at some point, and they just ate it and left the leftovers on the floor? I mean, I don't get that. I mean, if you're proud about killing something so proud, why not put it up on the wall? What is that thing in the corner? What the fuck is that?
This is really disturbing.
Did they trick? Did they trick the deer to come in the house and then like kill him there? I mean, I just don't get it. It's very odd. That's an odd scene to me, you guys. I mean, I've never seen this picture before, and it is shocking to me to see some kind of evil skeletal fucking thing that looks like something out of that movie Danny Darko, you know, and that's gonna be in my nightmares. It says they're proud to kill. They're proud to kill, and that's like the number one focus. They're not being humble about it like a good hunter would. Like, oh, I'm feeding my family, or you know, I'm helping thin the herd a bit because they're overpopulated and it's actually detrimental to them. No, it's all about the display of power and bloody. Look at the wall color. Even, do you think Mrs. Shots across the street helped with the decorating? I don't know.
And then Keegan says that Tony goes. He's out of the car, gone for a while. That he comes back, he has blood on him, that they go to leave, that Keegan throws out a phone. So there goes that that's a burner phone, people. That's not his real phone. I think they're smart enough that they've done enough CSAM to know not use your real phone to be traced. And that Tony throws out a knife. And then we know for 5 weeks, they're searching the Wabash River near their home in Peru. What it wasn't overly reported is there was another water search that happened in Delphi. And that search only had to last a few days. So my thought is, why did that one only last a few days? Did they find something? Because in my opinion, what would be in the water in Delphi would be the cell phone, because the cell phone you'd want to get rid of right away so it can't be traced to follow you anywhere or locate you anywhere. So you're going to dump that out right away. And the knife, you don't want that close by to where the scene is. You want to get rid of it farther. So if they did find a phone that quickly, it would take them a while. CSAM by itself takes forever for them to logistically get into that phone. But when you talk about a phone that has probably been sitting there for 6 years underwater, you now have to see what you can recover from it and have people with that expertise to be able to get to it.
What do you think about the Red Jeep story? They said the state or the prosecution that they were able to confirm that the Red Jeep story was fake because they couldn't see any Red Jeep in the traffic cameras. But what is weird?
I think the Red Jeep is literally a red herring.
Right.
I think the Red Jeep was slipped to give information to Tony to know that Keegan's talking, but not to let him know that everything that Keegan is saying. So the other part of what we also know that happened that morning of the murders that got leaked out was that Keegan Klein looked up the Marathon gas station in Delphi.
The 13th.
And the Marathon gas station just happens to also be where the FBI lost the hard drive info from the cameras. And first they were trying to download it on just a USB drive. Supposedly it wouldn't work. Then they take the hard drive and the FBI sits there and leave that. Now, I have a whole nother theory on that, and that may be a whole nother show about what I have a little suspicion about, but I'm not ready to go completely right there yet. However, so the evidence that could have really answered a question really quickly is gone. Especially that you would need that video to confirm if he looked up the Marathon gas station and met up with somebody. And that would add up to that they met up earlier that they went to go check out the location earlier, right? They were trying to figure out what their plan was, where they were going, all that kind of stuff. It would probably be way more familiar to Richard Allen of that area than it would have been to Keegan or Tony. So they would have to figure out, where's this going to be? Where can we be that we won't be seen? What's the easiest way to get to that? You know, and it always, for some reason, it always makes me remember in the transcript from Keegan talking to the officer when they asked him, do you think your father could have done this? And even including with Barbara McDonald, but he makes a statement where he states, well, my dad can drag deer out of the woods. And I just thought that was an interesting comment, that why would he state it that way, dragging deer out of the woods? I think that you can't ignore the eyewitness that sees and mentions first a purple PT Cruiser or SUV that he sees first, and then makes later also the statement of a smaller car that's there. The first car he notices, because it's at the farther part of the CPS building, is a purple PT Cruiser or Cruiser. Now, to say purple, that's a big thing to stand out. And if you know those purple PT Cruisers, when you saw a purple one, they kind of did stand out to you, because that's not a usual color, you know, that you would see on a vehicle. And the guy is seeing it on the opposite side, and that's what caused attention to him. And then we have the other witness who's leaving, but she is seeing and paying attention to that smaller vehicle, right? The Ford that's backed up in there. Mm-hmm. So then it just makes you curious about that. Also, the witness who worked there over near that area had pulled in that morning, saw a vehicle parked to the side of the road that morning, saw a vehicle still parked there in the afternoon. And then he talks about then, later seeing that vehicle parked over near the Freedom Bridge. So he's saying, though, that when he talked to the Harvest Store owner over there and asked on the camera, he saw that person purposely did not drive it in front of the camera. And if you do have somebody who's ever committed any type of crime like this before, that person is going to pay attention to that detail. They're going to make sure they're not seen, they're not connected electronically by phone, their vehicles isn't picked up by something. So that could be something else that's also picked up there. So as far as the red Jeep, I think the red Jeep was, this is totally my opinion, but I think that the red Jeep was a red herring, and that's not the vehicle that was told. I think it was not what they were driving. And the reason I'm going to say that is because it's actually Tony Klein's car. That would be easy as hell to spot a bright red Jeep, that people would remember seeing a bright red Jeep. And I don't think he was that stupid to pull a red Jeep right there in front of it to be seen. I think it, could it be, grandma's vehicle who has a PT Cruiser? Sure. Could it be another relative's? Could it be a cousin's car? Could it be something else? Absolutely. But I think they gave a little bit more to keep Tony worried, in my opinion. Let him be concerned about what's going out there.
Why would he put sticks over the girls? I'm a criminal profiler, and I can tell you, I have no idea. You know why? Because I'm not committing that crime. It's not my fantasy. If I People think somehow criminal profiles get into the heads of all serial killers and stuff, and we know exactly why they do whatever they do. No, we don't. And if we say we do, we're lying because it sounds cool. If I go, oh, for him, the piling of the sticks upon the girls, it meant to him that he had encaged them. Oh, or some people, oh, maybe he felt guilty. No, the person who killed these girls does not feel guilty about anything. I guarantee you that. So that's a psychopath and a half. Not going to feel guilty. So when people say, oh, the serial killer put the blanket over the woman's head because he felt bad. No, he didn't. He might have covered her up because he didn't want people looking through the window to see a dead body there. He might have done it because he said, you done. Haha. You thought you're pretty. Can't even see you now. I don't know because I'm not there and I'm not them, but guilt is not part of it. So was he covering up, putting sticks on them because he was intending to cover up their bodies more? Even though they were supposed to be in that area and everybody knew they were going to be in that area. So kind of waste of time. But who knows? I don't know why he did it, rich guy, but he did it. And it's not important to actually try to figure it out. And even if you caught the right guy, if it's Alan or somebody else, and you said, why did you put those sticks? Since the guy's a psychopath, half the time he'll lie to you. Well, I did that because, yeah, okay. And we're supposed to believe you. Why? It doesn't matter. The only time it would matter is if the sticks were cut in a certain way that the killer also cut sticks on another occasion, or he used sticks at that location that he had at his house, as if it were actual evidence that would link to the killer, then it would matter. On occasion, when a killer does the rare signature thing, which is overplayed in Hollywood, there's a difference between MO and signature. MO is modus operandi or method of operation, something you do to commit the crime. The girls' throats were cut. That kills them. That's theoretically MO. But signature is something they do just for their own pleasure, and it's just part of their fantasy. Well, cutting the throat should be the same thing. So I don't know. Pick which one you want. But if they do something particularly unusual, there was a Korean serial killer who stuck peaches up the vaginas of his victims. That's unusual. Why did he do that? I don't know. Maybe he had a lot of peaches. Again, I don't know, but he did that. Now, the usefulness of that is if you find a woman with a peach upper, you can say, must be the same dude, as long as you didn't get that information out to the community, right? So there are the rare times when the killer does something so unique that it helps link crimes. The majority of the time, most serial killers do such basic stuff. They jump out of the bushes, they strangle a woman, rape her, and then they walk away. And you can't tell one, you could have 10 women with you can go to VICAP, the FBI thing, and you try to link the crimes together. You find like across the nation, 50 women who were all strangled and raped and left by the side of a bike path. You could have 50 different serial killers because it's just basic. On the other hand, some of those might be linked, but who knows? And then just because a person strangles doesn't mean the next time they won't stab the person instead. Like, man, when I strangled her, she like ripped at me. I don't like that. Next time I'm just going to. So the MO changes. So it's a little more complicated than people think, and way less useful the majority of the time than people think as well. So motive a lot of times is all I can ever say, which I can say 100% of the time is true. Serial killers love power and control, and they want to play out their fantasy. To them, it's fun. This is a big fat thrill because they get to do something that is, they're going to do this thing that they're playing God with somebody's life, and they're doing something so horrific and so awful, and they get to see the fear and terror on the faces of their victims. They like that. I can tell you that.
she had information that when Brad had told her that when the relationship between him and Patrick Westfall fell apart was when they were doing a ritual near a river, and that there was a fallout because Westfall wanted to move beyond just sacrificing animals. So, I mean, you can intuit what they meant, or what he was saying. Westfall said, I want to accelerate it. I want to move to the next level. Forget animals, which obviously sounds like it means people. What's
Obviously.
above an animal, right? She also said another really interesting thing that came out to offer proof is that Brad said that he had seen, and he, of course, telling, so it's basically double hearsay, that he had seen on Westfall's phone a video of girls being posed in a certain way with sticks on them, like on like a video.
Wait, now who on whose phone?
So Brad told Amber, his now ex-wife, that on Patrick's phone he had seen a video of the girls, of not Abby and Libby.
Right. No, I get it. Other girls.
Other girls. Oh, another big thing that came out during Click's testimony. I want to go back because it's all coming back to me now. So he was trying to establish the connections between Holder, Westfall, Fields, Johnny Messer. So he's going through this with Click, and were you able to establish connections? He's like, yes. And so he was able to connect Messer and Fields. So Johnny Messer was a guy, and they both lived in Rushville, okay, like a different town. But he asked Click if he was able to establish, was Messer recruiting Vinlanders down in Rushville, and he was able to establish that he was, by talking to two other guys that had said, yeah, Messer was trying to recruit us to be Vinlanders. And then so the
Fields
connection
is in that
with
group where he was going, or Fields is somewhere else?
No, he's in Rushville. Now remember, everyone likes to discount Elvis Fields saying what he said because he has a low IQ. I don't buy that. I think that a guy with the low IQ is the guy who walks back to a police car and says, hey, if I spit on the girls' heads and but I can give you is a bright guy doing that? I don't know. And I keep hearing people poo-poo the antlers. So Click has seen the evidence, he's seen the photos, and he said like unequivocally there were sticks out of
Antlers
out of Abby's hair. Okay, like, so people keep saying that doesn't exist. We now have testimony from Todd Click that it did exist, and that
is crazy. Like, I am shocked.
Crazy.
This
was the closest thing to like
Frank's
a
memo.
trial that you're gonna see. Like this was like what I've been waiting for a year and a half with the motion to dismiss. You know what I mean? It was something else. So it gets better. So he establishes with Johnny Messer. Yeah.
All right. See, now I forget which one. Okay. So Messer's the guy that says they were recruiting in this area.
Right. So they're trying to make the connections between Westfall, Messer, Holder, and Fields. So It turns out that Johnny Messer's uncle, Billy Messer, lived with Elvis Fields. So
what?
There's your connection to Elvis Fields.
You're
kidding
me right now.
Why would I kid about something like that?
To talk about what happened on the outskirts of town, though, where police found the two teens' bodies. People are talking, sharing their disbelief. Talk about what happened on the outskirts of town, though, where police to talk about what happened on the outskirts of town, though, where police found the two teens' bodies. People are talking, sharing their disbelief.
happened on the outskirts of town, though, where police.
If anyone knows of any types of injuries that I've missed in the testimony that's defensive, let me know. If you're receiving someone's trying to cut your neck or your throat, you can reach up there, and of course, you may get defensive injuries. The offender has two hands. If he has a knife in one, how is he able to control two hands of the other unless there's some type of bondage or something? Are they cuffed? Are they zip tied? What's going on here that will allow him control of two hands with one hand of his while he has the other one? For the fact, like I said, when you're up here and someone's trying to cut you, you'll even if you're reaching to protect your neck or trying to apply pressure to your injury, or you're trying to pull that hand away from you, a lot of defensive injuries occur. And I don't see where, anything right now is indicative, and it's been testified to that they didn't see any defensive injuries. Defensive injuries are notable and defined, and that you'll have cuts to your fingers, your hands, your thumbs, where you grab that weapon or you try to put your hands between someone that's say trying to cut your throat or something. You put your hand up there and you'll have a cut across your hands. Those are defensive injuries of where you put your forearm up, or you grab the blade and you'll have cuts across the inside of your hands. Those are defensive injuries. There's, from my understanding, we don't have those. Just the blood being on the hands itself is not something, and it absolutely drives me crazy of why don't we have those defensive injuries? And that has always, we've heard that, well, she fought, but do we have broken fingernails, broken fingers? Do we have slashes on the hands, on the forearms, on the elbows? Because typically you will have those, and those are defensive injuries from a knife fight that I've seen hundreds and hundreds of times through training and through some of the fights I've been to. There's certain things I do not that I'm not willing to discuss at this time that I will discuss after the defense gets their story in there and their how they think this crime occurred, who committed it, how it was committed, because there's a lot of things right now that make absolutely no sense of the blood patterns that's on the F tree, if that's Libby, and when was she able to possibly do that transfer, or is that transfer from the offender to the tree? And so there's a lot of things that right now, while I have certain thoughts in my mind, they're just speculation. But I don't want to discuss that speculation at this time until the case is further along and the defense gets it in there, and which I'm looking forward to. That is strange. This is an issue that says, do you think they were held down by someone else? There's a lot of different ways to control hands. Law enforcement, we use handcuffs, certain holds, but even when you're doing certain holds, your hands are occupied either with cuffs or with one arm, and you're trying to grab or whatever you're doing with your other hand. If you're holding a firearm, stun gun, flashlight, baton, whatever, that you still have one hand that you're not able to control typically. Even in the pain compliance, while you can put people in certain types of hold that will make them do things they do not wish to do. But if you're trying to, I do not think it would work and bypass the survival instinct that even if you had some type of pain compliance hold on one arm or one hand and was applying pressures, that if you were inflicting certain injuries, that other hand, I think instinctually, survival wise, would still go up there and try to intercept any type of knife coming in contact with your throat or with that weapon. If you had the ability, I don't think any type of pain would stop you from that survival instinct. That's just my opinion, guys. And I have a high pain tolerance. So, it bothers me so much. I can't get past it. If I had to choose any type of weapon, of course, any weapon in hand is better than none. But if I was planning a homicide or going to take certain types of weapons, a box cutter wouldn't be my choice of knife to take, even if it was disposable. It's just something that I think is odd. And that's one of the reasons that I really, while it could be a knife, a box cutter, and at the end of the day, it may be, but it's just really not something that you would think that anyone that was planning and was an organized offender would say, okay, I've got my firearm, I've got my restraints, I've got my box cutter. I don't see that, but doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's very strange. But you're right, box cutter is very capable of slashing people. Been used, they're easily hid, concealable, and disposable. But it's not really a weapon of choice that you would take up against two people and not having the blade broken. But once again, we don't have those defensive wounds. And how did that occur? Just drives me crazy. Steve, it concerns you about the defensive injuries. Might it indicate them being incapacitated or restrained in some way? Yes, that's a possibility for the fact that, if we're in a knife fight and people reach for those knives, they defend themselves. And even when they're receiving injuries, they'll grab it and you'll still have cuts made to their fingers, to their arms. And, it's not been noted that I know of. If anyone knows of any types of injuries that I've missed in the testimony that's defensive, let me know. FBI affidavit for the Logan, something about that there was no indications of injury. I just can't explain it, that we have two victims and no defensive injuries. And how do you do that to two of them? Because one of them has to be first. What is the other one doing? It makes no sense to me, guys. If we had one victim, this scenario that Kate explains is very possible. But we have two victims. How and of course, what injuries could incapacitate one or the other? I don't know. Joshua Posh, Steve, if a box cutter was used, you normally would expect a perpetrator to have some injury or leave materials behind at the scene. I would think that, yes, the blade will have broke. I would think during the struggles or something. I absolutely makes no sense. Bama says, do you think the girls were soft restrained where it didn't leave restraint bruising marks? I don't know. I don't know. There had to be, something happened. We have two victims. We got two victims and one offender. The offender has two hands. The victims have four. And how do we control four hands with no defensive wounds? I don't, like I said, strange.
Can you take us to what you think happened that day?
I have a theory. Mind you, it's just a theory that something could have happened right there at the point where the bodies was found. I won't give her name, but I will use her initials, KW. She had said, had my son have gotten home a little earlier, he would have caught them going down the hill.
The van driven by Mr. Weber.
They have that private drive. Now, we know that he arrived a short time after that, a very small time right after they was abducted. What if his car was going down that path and one of the girls yelled to try to get the attention of the driver? That could have set the guy off.
But the van driven by Mr. Weber spooked him. He probably heard it. I mean, that's a long lane. You can hear it before it gets right up there.
You can. I've heard it.
Yeah. So I think that he then took him across that frigid creek.
But if one of them had yelled to try to get the attention of the driver, that could have tipped things off immediately. He could have struck one of them, the other could have yelled, and it just became what it is, what it was, a double murder.
Well, I think the evidence and the facts clearly indicate that they were out there, dropped off, possibly to meet somebody, or maybe just to go out there and enjoy a nice, unseasonably warm day. And in Richard's own words, he laid in wait. He stalked them. He kidnapped them by telling them to go down the hill, by pointing a gun at them. I believe he was going to sexually assault them at the bottom of that hill underneath the trestle.
Anybody that knew that area and had covered it, and to the extent that the suspect did, he had been there quite a few times waiting. This was a crime of convenience. The guy had went there, he knew the area, had it all in his head as to how it was going to play out when somebody showed up that fit his image of the victim and there was no one else around. If they get down to that bridge in an area where you can go over and get them, take them right over to that point, because that point couldn't be seen from the trail or the bridge. You couldn't be seen from any area there. He knew that, and he knew his way out.
My theory is that he probably commanded them to get naked and was going to do some sort of sexually gratifying acts there, and was being selfish and was a coward. I think he treated them like animals. And again, that's where my anger comes into how one human being could treat two other human beings that way. I think that he was selfish and thought that they were going to turn him in, that he failed to kidnap him. He failed to gratify himself sexually, and he slit their throats, put sticks on them, and how he can go on and live his life, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but he did. And I think there's a lot of other theories, but that's what the facts and the evidence clearly indicates happened.
I am using the best guesswork that I have in the same way that investigators do. Law enforcement and trolls, man, hop on. Get the fuck out of here.